everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I have a really exciting video for everyone today. Rohi of Rubies Bras recently reached out to me and asked if I would try out her Sahaara bra pattern. I believe this is the first bra pattern that Rohi has released, but I'm sure there's going to be more in the future. The Sahaara bra is a soft cut bra, meaning there's no wire. I know that a lot of people love a wireless bra because they find wires uncomfortable, so I think this would be a great option because it is quite supportive. It comes in a wide range of sizes, and there are two pattern sets to choose from. The first pattern set includes size AA through F cups with a rib cage of 24 inches to 46 inches. The second size set has a rib cage of 26 inches through 46 inches in sizes G through L. So I'm sure that this will meet a wide range of people's body sizes and needs, even if it can't be accommodating for every single person. When I'm finding out which size I need two different measurements. The first measurement I took is my actual rib cage. I'm doing this right underneath my bust with the bra on. I want the measuring tape to sort of be parallel to the floor, and that measurement that I got was 32 inches, which means I'll be using a 32 band. The second measurement I took was across the fullest portion of my bust, again, wearing a bra and making sure that the measuring tape is parallel to the floor. I got 36 inches for my full bust measurement. If I take 36 inches minus 32 inches, I get a difference of 4 inches. When I consult the chart, it gives me a size cup of C. I'll be making a 32C today. For today's video, I'll be making View A, which is the sheer cup, and I'll be using the wide elastic waistband option. If you need some additional assistance on how to make this bra, I would highly recommend the Sewalong that Rubies Bras has put out. I've linked it in the description box below. This video provides much more in-depth detail of the actual sewing process itself, so like on the sewing machine. At the end of today's video, I'll give you my thoughts on how it fits and anything I think you should know for the pattern. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and print out those pattern pieces, and I'll meet you over at my sewing table.
So first, let's look at all of the pattern pieces. There's only 5 pieces for this bra, which makes it a pretty easy bra in my opinion. Not a lot of fiddly things to deal with. So let's take a look at what these pieces are. The first one is going to be a non-stretch strap extension. So this goes along the front of the bra and it's going to make it a little bit more stable so you have less of that stretchy band material. I'm going to be using a 3/4 of an inch strap, so I made sure to cut out the 3/4 of an inch strap piece. But she also has strap pieces available for 1/2 inch and 5/8, which are the most common bra strap widths. Next up, we have our 2 cup pieces, an inner and outer cup. One thing that I'll mention that I thought was a little bit weird is that all of the C cups are using the same exact pattern piece. So whether you're a 28C or a 46C, they're all using the same cup, which to me feels a little counterintuitive, especially the way that wired bras are sized. Typically, the larger the band, the more volume the cup will have, even if it's a C cup. So that makes me a little bit worried, but Ruhi has a business making custom bras for people, so I'm going to trust her process, that she knows what she's talking about and how her pattern is sized. And I went ahead and printed out just the C cups. Then we have the front band piece. Just like the cups, and every C cup is going to have the same front band piece. Every A cup will have the same front band piece, on and on and on. So there are 3 different options on here: the waistband, the fold over option, and the long line option. I really like the look of a long line bra, but I know with my Watson bra, I do find that it bunches up just a little bit on my torso if I wear it for any long period of time. So I'm opting for the waistband version of the bra. The waistband version means that I will sort of get a length that is similar to a long line bra, but this sort of thick waistband elastic is much less prone to bunching. So I think it'll be a little bit more secure and stable on that band piece. So I just cut the full pattern piece out, and then I folded it back and then I'm just going to fold it back like this when I'm cutting out my individual materials, so I can go ahead and use this same pattern for multiple different lengths. And same thing with the back band piece. So this one, again, I just folded it in at that waistband one, and that's the size that I cut out here. So it's important to note that this backband piece is going to be cut out of a stretchy material like PowerNet. This one is going to be cut out of a stable material like Duoplex or Simplex, something like that. And then the cut pieces, because I've selected view A, which is the sheer version, I'm going to cut out of my bra tool. So when you're cutting out bra tool, you're going to need 2 layers for all of your cut pieces. So you'll end up cutting out 4 of these in total and 4 of these in total, because you're going to have 2 layers on each cut. And when you're cutting it out, you want to cut it out one way, so with the stretch line running vertically. And then the second set that you're going to cut out, you're going to rotate it by 90 degrees and cut it with that stretch line running horizontally. When you have the bra tool going at opposing directions of stretch, it means you end up with a really stable material. Whereas if you cut all 4 of your pieces with the stretch running in the same direction, you would end up with a bra cup that sort of stretches a lot in the top to bottom and has no stretch in the side to side. So by cutting them at 90-degree angles, you sort of compensate for that. And then lastly, my strap piece is going to be cut out of a non-stretch material. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything cut out and come back to you. Okay, so everything has been cut out. I have 4 of each of my cut pieces. Again, like I said, cut vertically and then horizontally. When you're cutting bra tool, there tends to be a right side and a wrong side to bra tool. And the best way I can figure it out is I take it and I rub it across my wrist. One of the sides will feel a lot scratchier than the other. And obviously I want the smoother side to be facing out. So I do have to pay attention with my bra tool, which one is the smooth side, and make sure I remember that the smooth side is always facing out. So it's going to touch my skin and it's going to show to the world. So those are my 2 cut pieces. I've also cut out 2 of my stable strap pieces. This one I'm using a sort of a light beige because I thought it would look pretty similar to my skin tone and sort of have a more light ethereal effect to go with the sheer cups. I've also cut out my band piece in that same material as my straps there. And again, cutting at the side of the pattern that said it was for the wide waistband. So that's what I have here. Now I'm going to deviate just slightly from the instructions. The instructions say to cut out a non-stretch version and a tulle version, 1 of each. I looked at it against my skin, what it would look like to put the tulle on top of this band piece, and I didn't love the way it looked. I thought it didn't add anything, and it was going to look a little bit messy with my seams. So I opted to do something different, which is to cut my second piece as a lining piece. So I think in the original pattern, the tulle would be on the outside and this would be on the inside. I'm going to make this the outside, and then my lining is going to be the inside. And I'm just using a non-stretch sheer cup lining for this. It's going to be really, really stable, but you won't see it at all. The last piece I had to cut out was my backband. Again, making sure to use the appropriate height of it based on the style that I'm making, which is with the wide waistband elastic. So these are going to be my 2 backband pieces. And again, this is a stretchy material. PowerNet has about like 50% stretch is what you kind of want to go for. But yeah, you want this to be stretchy so that it can fit comfortably around your body. So in addition to all of the fabrics, we also have the notions that I've collected. As I'd shown earlier, I've decided to use this 3/4 of an inch strap elastic, and I believe you need about 18 inches, so 9 inches for each strap. In addition to that, I have some fold over elastic, again in that same sort of light beige colorway. This is going to go along my cup edges and I believe the top of the band. I have my wide waistband elastic. This is going to be going along the bottom of the bra, and I'm going to use this in lieu of a picot elastic. We also have a hook and eye closure, so I'm using a 4 tall hook and eye closure. And lastly, I need the rings and sliders. So this pattern actually calls for 4 rings and 2 sliders. So if you're purchasing a kit, like a pre-made bra kit, most bra kits will only come with 2 rings and 2 sliders. That's one thing to be aware of, that you might need to get some additional rings. if you want to use this non-stretch front strap. So with all of my materials collected, I'm going to go ahead and start sewing. The first thing I'm going to tackle is the cups. So let's get all of this stuff out of the way. So Ruhi goes into great detail in the pattern about my favorite cup sewing technique, which is to fully encase all of the seams inside. If you're a beginner, I think this is a great pattern because I think the diagrams that it shows are really good, and it's a technique that's easy to do once you know what you're doing, but can be a little bit tricky the first time around. So first I'm going to start with a pair of my inner cut pieces. I've already stacked these up, so I have one of each, one going sideways and one going vertically. Just to double test, you can give it a little pull each direction and make sure that it doesn't have very much stretch at all, and that's what you should be going for. So I have one of each layered on top of each other, and I'm going to take these two cut pieces and make sure that they are properly aligned along this arc here. And then me personally, I like to go ahead and pin it at this point. I tend to use a lot of pins just because I feel like it gives me a more professional polished look in the end, because then I don't have stuff shifting, but it does take you a little bit extra time to do all this pinning. So like, do what works for you. It's your bra. You're going to be the one who wears it. So if you don't mind some sloppiness, then that's your prerogative. So now that I have that pinned, I'm going to go and pull some of my outer cut pieces. So I should, again, have two of these in opposing directions. So one with the stretch going vertical and one with the stretch going horizontal. So this is going to be the bread of my sandwich, and this is going to be the meats. So I'm going to put one of these on each side of my cut piece. Again, making sure to pay attention to what's the soft side of the tool. So I want the soft side of my tool, this one, to touch the soft side of my tool over here. So in my case, this piece is going to go underneath. It's my bottom bread. And you can go ahead and line up the notch markings on the cup. Notch markings are very helpful in making sure that everything is aligned properly. And then once I have my notch lined up, I can go ahead and reposition all of my pins one at a time. And I always sort of work from that center notch and then work my way out to the edges. I find that that gives me most even application. So now that I have my bottom bread, I can go ahead and put my top piece of bread on there. Same deal. Sort of pull apart the pieces and find your notch marking, making sure to line those up so that all four pieces have the notch marks aligned. So now I have four pieces in the stack. I have an outer piece, two inner cups, and then an outer cup on the last side. I'm going to go ahead and do that with my second cup. So now I have both sides pinned. It's important to note that I am doing the sheer cup version. And so for this one, the way that we're constructing the cup, there really isn't a right side or a wrong side. So both of mine look identical. But if you're doing the solid cup version, you would want to pin it so that they were opposites. So you have a cup for each side of your body. It won't make a difference in this material. I can flip it either way and it's going to be the same. So what I'm going to do is take this over to my machine. I'm going to use a straight stitch. I'm using just the standard sort of width and length of stitch, the one that my machine automatically goes to. And I'm going to stitch at 1/4 inch all along this pinned curve. And I'm going to do that for both of my cup pieces. So now that I've done that 1/4 inch seam, I can go ahead and open out the two bread pieces of my cup. So open out the top and the bottom piece. And what you should see is that that seam is beautifully encased inside of the cup. So the raw edges of the seam are inside. They're not going to touch your skin and they're not going to show to the world. So the sort of last step we need to do to finish up our cup piece here is just some top stitching. The pattern recommends 2 rows of top stitching for the prettiest effect, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to do probably about an 1/8 inch from my original seam and then over another sort of like 2/8 of an inch. So I have two parallel lines that's really capturing down that seam allowance and making it as flat as possible. So I'm going to do that for both of my cups. So here are my two cups with the top stitching. I'll hold it up so hopefully you can get a little bit closer of a look how that looks. And she's right, the two rows of top stitching really just sort of look very polished and finished. I will say with Bra Tool, it pays to take your time and work slowly because you can sort of see everything that you're doing through the material. Any sort of like mistakes where you deviate on your seam allowance will show up. So take your time with Bra Tool. I absolutely love it. I think the effect that it gives, so sheer and light but still strong and sturdy, is absolutely wonderful. So now I need to go ahead and finish up the neckline edges of my cut pieces before I can insert them in the band. And so for that, in the view A, I'm going to go ahead and use fold over elastic. So fold over elastic, I tend to do it in one pass. So I hold it underneath and with the edge of my fabric aligned with the middle of that elastic itself, and you just fold it over top and then sew with a zigzag stitch. If you're worried that you're not going to be able to sew this all in one single step, the thing I would recommend is to do it in 2 steps. So lay it on top of the fabric like this, do a long basting stitch, and then the second time through, you can fold it over, knowing that it's not going to move anywhere. The other thing you need to be aware of with fold over elastic is it can tend to make the edges look a little wavy. And the way that you counteract that is when you're sewing with it, stretch it just ever so slightly. So like this much. You know, I'm not really pulling at it very much at all, but just that little bit of negative tension on the elastic while you're sewing will prevent any like sort of lettucing or waviness effect along the neckline. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that off. And here we have the fold over elastic applied. You'll see here that I've extended it a little bit further beyond the edge of the cup. That just helps to make sure that the machine's working properly, the stitches are looking nice before I get to the point where it really matters. Eventually this will be cut off in the end. But for now, we can just leave it on. So now that we have finished that edge, we can go ahead and start inserting it into the band piece. So in the pattern, there's actually 2 different methods of inserting the cup in. I'm going to use the more advanced method because it's going to give me a much cleaner inside. But just know that if you're a beginner starting out, I would probably go with the easier method first, just to sort of like get your groundings. But me, with my several years of bra making under my belt, I think I can handle the trickier of the 2 methods. The first thing I'm going to do, just to sort of help me out, I'm going to use a friction pen and just mark that point in the center front of my bra where the 1/4 inch seam allowance would sort of intersect. So that's going to be the point that I'm going to sew to. So I'm going to take my cup as it would fit in here and flip it down to the bottom. And I want to line the edge of my cup piece with that point that I've sort of drawn in there. And I'm going to start pinning that into place, starting at that point and then moving along this edge here. So now I've got that pinned into place just on one side. I'm going to start with one side and then do the other. Now the part that makes this the more advanced technique is now we're going to apply our lining on top of that. So just like with the cups. So just like we did with the cups, this is going to result in the seam allowance being tucked inside completely. And I love a good clean finish on my bras. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and do this technique, even though it's a little bit harder. So now I have the lining pinned in. So again, we have the bottom band material, the cup in the middle, and then the lining on the top. So that's going to give me my sandwich. So this is going to be stitched at 1/4 of an inch with a straight stitch just along that pinned edge, just like we did the cup pieces. So now I have the first side sewn. This is the part that gets a little bit tricky. So I'm going to sort of tuck my cup piece out of the way because I don't want to hit it when I'm sewing my second side. And I'm just going to pin it to make sure that it's not in the way. So this little teeny tiny point that I had put in originally, again, we're going to put the second cup piece in hitting at that same point, and then sandwich our lining over top of it. I think this point is probably the hardest part of the whole bra. And then we're going to continue along just like we did on the other side. So pinning my cup to the band all along that curve, and then pinning my lining on top of that. So now I have that second side all pinned. I'm going to go ahead just like the first and sew with 1/4 inch a straight stitch along this edge. I will reinforce this center point here a couple of times just because that's going to be the highest tension in the bra. Okay, so everything has been sewn, and hopefully you can see that I've gone over this point another 2 or 3 times just to make sure it's doubly secure. So now it looks like a big mess, but if we flip it out, what we should get, as you see, we have this nice sharp, whoops, this is where I pinned my cut piece out of the way. So we have this nice sharp V point in the center front. It's looking really, really nice. Very happy with that. It's a little bulky there, so I am going to cut away just the point of this. It will make it a little weaker, but it'll help it lie a little bit flatter. I'm just going to take my scissors in, chop off that point there. Yeah, now that's lying a little bit flatter. So now what I need to do is top stitch just along this edge here, and that's going to secure the interior and the outerior. Like I said, it's just like the cups. That seam allowance is hidden inside, so no seam allowance will actually be touching you, and I think it gives a really nice, clean finish. Very happy how that turned out. So I'm just going to take this over to my machine and top stitch. Just a single line of top stitching this line along this edge, sinking my needle in at the point, rotating, and finishing to the other side. And here it is with the top stitching. I have to say, I really love the finishing techniques on this pattern. I think it really gives you a nice, professional looking result. So next I'm going to add on my backband piece. I'm just going to take it. I'm going to make sure that I have the right side. So the side that has all of the extra little bits and stuff on it, that's going to be the center back where your hook and eye is going to go in your strap. So I went the side that's just a little bit plainer, and I'm going to align this straight edge with the straight edge of my front bra. And I'm going to sew this with 1/4 inch straight stitch, and do that for both sides. So here they are sewn on. Now I will say that this one is an exposed edge, and I recognize that the way that the rest of this is constructed, it's just not possible to conceal this. So what I'm going to do instead is sort of push all of my seam allowance towards the front of the bra, and then I sew it with a zigzag stitch on top. So this is what it looks like. This helps to lay that seam just a little bit flatter, and hopefully that seam allowance doesn't get in your way. So you really kind of have the option of making this clean or this, and I agree that it's more important to get a cleaner seam finish just along these cups because it's much closer to your sensitive bits along the front of your body. This is less likely to irritate. So I'm going to go ahead and do that zigzag top stitching on the other side, and then I'll come right back so we can put on the waistband elastic. So now it's time for my waistband elastic, and again she has thought of the finish to give the cleanest insides. So what we're going to do is flip it around to the inside of the bra, right? This is the lining facing up at me right now, and I'm going to take my waistband elastic and align the bottom edge of the elastic with the bottom edge of my bra. Now I'm going to use a zigzag stitch and go, I think she said 1/2 inch away from the cut edge. So 1/2 inch away from this edge, we're going to zigzag down here. The pattern does provide the zigzag width and length that she recommends for this step. So now I've stitched it to the inside of the bra, And I have trimmed away any excess that sort of stuck out beyond the edge, just to make sure that I had the cleanest look possible. So if I flip the bra over to the right side, now we can flip that bottom band out, and it should just barely graze the bottom of the cup there. I'm going to pull it taut, and now I'm going to go ahead with a second pass on a zigzag stitch just really close to the upper edge of that waistband elastic to secure it into its final position. So 1/8 of an inch with a zigzag stitch along the top edge. So after that second row of zigzag stitching is complete, this is what it looks like. I can hold it up to the camera for a little bit closer view. You see how this band elastic hits just at the bottom of the cup there if you use the measurements that she has provided. And then on the inside, it looks absolutely stunning. It is such a clean, beautiful finish. Yeah, so you do get that folded edge of the material that sits there, but again, no exposed seam allowances, just looking nice and clean and finished. So the next step I'm going to do is cover up my edges here. I'm going to use that same fold over elastic that we used along the neckline. I will say that in the pattern, she recommends that you use some stabilizer tape along the neck and underarm edge here. Personally, I don't love it when bras are very stable at that particular position because it sort of cuts into, you know, the fleshy bits that I have on the side here. It's just a matter of personal preference. I also am very self-supporting and I don't have a lot of volume, so I'm not really that finicky about stability. If you are a larger cup size, I would definitely put in that stabilizer tape there because that's going to give you a lot of firm support triangles. You'll have firm support along the neckline, the underarm edge, and of course this band is a stable band. So that will give you a nice firm triangle to help things sit in place. But at my size, I don't think it matters. So I am going to do the fold over elastic just like I did with the neckline. I'm going to trim off this excess now because I don't need it any longer. And like I did before, I do want to make sure that I have a little bit of extra, like an inch, inch and a half, that extends beyond the cup itself. This is going to be used later on to attach the ring to. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that edge and this one. So now I have all the edges finished. I realized when I looked at the pattern again that she actually kept the excess fold over elastic from here and sort of combined them together to form a little wider attachment point, but this is still going to work fine. So next I'm going to be making my like stable straps. So I can set this aside. I'm going to pick up these pieces. You want to look at what side you want out. So this has the fabric that I'm using has a shinier side and then a duller side. I want to keep the shiny side out. So that's going to be the inside of my hot dog. I'm going to fold it long ways and then stitch with 1/4 of an inch along this long edge here, and then do that for both of these. So now that these have been sewn up, I'm going to go ahead and use a loop turner to flip them out to the right side. So I think I got like 10 of these for under $5 on Amazon. So worth getting. I think they make this step way easier. So you thread it through. There is a little hook at the top of it that you can sort of hook into your material. And then say a little prayer. Once you get it started, it should be easier. Yeah, flip that to the outside. So I'm going to take this. It says to iron it. I'm not going to worry about ironing it. My iron is put away, but I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch on either side of this to sort of like flatten it out and make it a little bit more streamlined. So a scant like 1/8 of an inch just on either side, sort of like the belt loops on your jeans. Now with that top stitch, I'm going to take those rings and I'm going to patch them on either end. So you just thread it through the end of the non-stretch strap, but fold it backwards, and then we're going to use sort of like a tacking stitch, a bar tack to go across there and to secure it firmly into place. And I'm going to do that on either side of the strap. At the same time as putting the rings on the non-stretch straps, I want to go ahead and put the sliders on my stretchy strap. So I've cut a piece of the stretchy elastic 9 inches long, and then I have the slider, which sort of looks like an elongated figure 8. So with the right side facing up on my strap, I'm going to come up on the left side of the slider, over that center bar, and then back down in. So it should look like that. And then we want to secure this on the machine as well with a bar tack or straight stitch a couple times back and forth there so it's nice and secure. So now we have the stretchy sliders and the non-stretch rings. We can combine these two together to make our strap. So I'm going to have my strap with the wrong sides facing up and my non-strap strap with the right side facing up. So I'm going to go from underneath to the top through the ring, and then I'm going to fold this over and go back through my slider, starting underneath and then going from the top down. So now this section of the strap is going to be adjustable and stretchy, and this section of the strap is going to be firm and non-stretch. I'm going to look at this sort of curved section on the end of my back strap or back band, and I want to put the stretchy section of my strap on there, and I'm going to sort of like follow that curve and sew it all the way along the curve on both sides of the strap to secure it firmly in place. I'll be using a zigzag stitch as specified in the pattern. Now with the straps secured along the back edge here, I can go ahead and loop them into my extra bit up at the front of the cup to complete the strap. So I'm just going to back tack here a couple of times through to secure it into place and finish the straps. With the straps in place, the last and final step is to put on our hook and eyes. The pattern recommends pushing this flap of the hook and eye pocket all the way back. I'm going to pin it into place just to keep it from getting in my way. And then securing this to the bra with a straight stitch, making sure that I avoid all of these metal pieces in the eye portion. Once that's sewn into place, we can push this flap back over and then sew it again with a straight stitch on top. So now I've done the first pass on that, so I'm going to take this pin out and push my flap over and do the second pass. I really like this technique because I feel like it means now this is firmly in place and the stitching on the outside will look really nice and pretty because I don't have to like worry about is it shifting or not because it's already secured. For the hook and eyes, you kind of just have to do it all in one pass, shoving the hook and eyes on the end, making sure that your hooks are facing up when you're looking at the inside of the bra, and do a single line of stitching just along the edge. You can't do it like we did the other side with folding it out, stitching, and then folding it back in, because that would result in a double line of stitching on the exterior, which might not look as pretty. So with that, my Sahaara bra is finished, and I'm pretty happy. So with that, my Sahaara bra is finished. Pretty happy with how it looks. I'm gonna go ahead and try it on and let you know what I think.
So the bra is finished and I'm pretty happy with the results. I've been wearing it now for a couple of hours and it's incredibly comfortable. It definitely solves that problem that I've always had with wireless bras that just sort of like smush me in. I feel like with the stable band on this bra, I get a lot of support, but I still feel like I have some projection that's noticeable, and I don't feel like I'm gonna fall out or go anywhere. Compared to the Watson bra, which has a very similar style or look to it, I think that this bra is a lot more supportive and for me fit a lot better right out of the envelope. The only thing that I think I would change about the bra is maybe using a smaller band size. Like I said, I went with a 32 and probably would go down to a 30 the next time I make the bra. I thought it was perfect when I first put it on, but after a couple of hours, I wanted to go ahead and tighten in on my hook and eyes. So knowing that a new bra should fit on the loosest setting, that means I need to go down on my band. I find that the bottom band of the bra is really, really comfortable, especially with that wide band elastic. I'm not getting any bunching with it, so that is a huge plus for me. Now, as I had said, I made the sheer cup version, and I already have some plans for making a solid one as well as a lace one. I think that this pattern is going to become a staple in my wardrobe because it is so comfortable. It has no wires. It's easier to work out in than a lot of my wired bras. So I think I'm going to really love this bra. One of the things I think was my favorite part about the pattern, which you probably could have figured out from watching the preceding video clips, is that I loved all of the finishing styles that Ruby has used in this. Of course, she comes from a background of making bespoke custom bras for customers. So I think that really shows in the way that the directions are written that she has paid a lot of attention to detail and what this bra is going to look like on the inside. The pattern instructions, I believe, are pretty thorough and easy enough for a beginner to tackle and give you a high level of quality finished results. I've really loved working with the Sahaara pattern, and I hope you will too. I'll see everyone next time. Take care.